Good afternoon. Welcome to the Ethex Cuppa Club today. We'll just hang fire whilst all of our participants log in and get going. Looking forward today to speaking to one of the founders of Soul Farm, which is currently live on the Ethex website. So more numbers are coming in. Let's just wait a second. Good. Okay, so welcome everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Ashford. I'm the CEO of Ethex, which is a positive investment platform based in the UK. We support many social enterprises, purposeful organisations to raise the type of funding they need to thrive and grow. You might know we're currently celebrating our 10th year of being, which is very exciting. And we've got our 10-year impact report on our website if you wanted to have a look at that. It's a celebration of all of the organisations that we've helped over the years. And yeah, I just wanted to introduce today Laurence Jarrett-Kerr, who is one of the founders of Soul Farm. I think Soul Farm embodies what we are trying to support here at Ethex. So we're going to talk more to him briefly. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Just to remind you, this isn't a financial promotion, so we're just getting some more colour on the organisation. And the people, you can read more information about the offer specifically on our website. We can't answer any specific questions relating to your own personal financial circumstances. And if you need any financial advice, you can seek out an ethical financial advisor. Please do submit any questions via the chat function, and I will feed those into the session as we go along. So welcome, Laurence. Really pleased to have you here today. So just by introduction, Laurence, Soul Farm, I'm going to speak for you here, so apologies for that. Soul Farm is a no-dig market farm, growing seasonal organic vegetables in Flushing in the Falmouth area of Cornwall. Soul Farm is committed to connecting the community in and around Falmouth to food grown with soul and to the land that is local. So welcome. Laurence, tell us,
Hello.
how did you get involved? How did you start this fantastic project?
Funny enough, my background is not really in farming. I think there's quite a movement actually of people moving into more land-based kind of work from other things and looking at kind of retraining and doing other things. And I guess I'm one of them. My background is marketing and graphic design. And from a personal point of view, it was about getting away from the computer a little bit and kind of getting outdoors. But really, I feel like I'm a social entrepreneur at heart and wanted to start my own business and start something for the community. We started off very kind of slowly, just doing a few bits and pieces here and there, and then it was really in kind of lockdown during COVID that things really spiked for us, and we saw a big surge in demand for what we do, and it started to become more and more of a sort of it became more and more obvious that it was a need for the community. Yeah, so we've gradually over the last 5 years grown bit by bit, and then this is the sort of next and really the sort of final stage of getting the infrastructure that we need in order to be a completely viable, sustainable business without any reliance of external factors. So yeah, it's an exciting time. Spent the morning walking around the field with the polytunnel designer and manufacturer, and now that we've hit the sort of median target, it's becoming more real.
Yeah, great. And although this farm is very much rooted in the Falmouth community, you have a vision, and you are part of what I feel is a really growing movement of regenerative farmers and um, that have, potential impact across the whole country.
Yeah.
And it really feels like there is a snowball effect now, and this seems to be really gaining pace. Can you tell us about how you feel you fit in to that movement?
Yeah, so I mean, some people have called it a market gardening renaissance. That it's really sort of small scale farming is sort of making a return because it was a very big thing during previous centuries, specifically in and around the Thames, up feeding London and also a big inspiration is the Parisian market gardeners. Back when horses used to be doing all the transport and they would rely very much on the manure from the horses. And Paris used to be fed entirely on small scale market gardens. And so this model is sort of making a bit of a return because people are realizing that, well, I think a lot of people know that sort of pesticides and things like that aren't good for us anyway, but that our reliance on kind of fossil fuels to do our farming um, isn't great, and that has sort of knock-on effects. For instance, when you're starting to use tractors and stuff, you have to grow on bigger and bigger land. And so when we start thinking about things differently and growing more agroecologically and more intensively, it means that we can grow the similar quantities of food on smaller scale, a more human scale. And so a lot of people are picking up on this. When I first sat down to have a beer with some people that are interested in this in 2018, there were sort of 3 or 4 of us sitting around a table, like musing on how we could change the food system in Cornwall. Started a WhatsApp group, and now there's over 60 people in that WhatsApp group, all with their own little projects. I recently did a tour of all the little market gardens and food projects around Cornwall, and we're starting to cover off all the different kind of spaces around, and we all work together. We're communicating. When one levels up, the other people level up. We're sharing ideas, stories, um, sharing marketing sometimes, and yeah, it is a really growing kind of movement. Specifically for Soul Farm, where we fit in the kind of wider, more global movement is, we would love to become a demonstration of sort of what is possible on this kind of what I'd say large scale market gardening, um, as opposed to somebody just growing on an acre. We're looking at growing on sort of 5+ acres, 5 to 7 acres intensively. So it's a big market garden, but a very small farm. But we would also love to become a demonstration farm for not just how we grow regeneratively and with human power, but also how our social impact could be rolled out across sort of other farms. And I know we'll probably come to that later down the line, but we have given a lot of advice and talked other people through how you can operate some of our social principles on their farms. So yeah, it really is a movement.
Yeah, fantastic. And the farm's now in its, as you mentioned, the fifth growing season. And obviously it started off with a relatively small group of people, and now that is growing as you scale up. So tell us about the offer. So you've reached your initial target, which is amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And you're going for this stretch target. So tell us about what you're going to use the investment for and why you want to get to this stretch target.
Yeah, so there's a few. It adds a bit more. I mean, firstly, it adds a bit more resilience just in case price of steel changes or any of those fluctuations within the cost of producing whatever we're producing. So the tunnel, even between now and when we build it, it just allows us a bit of that flexibility, because otherwise the flexibility would come in sort of reducing the scope of what we're doing. And it also means that we can look at some things that will increase our efficiency, but not necessarily like drive the bottom line. So for instance, rather we would love to build a lagoon to capture water, which would create a wildlife habitat, ecological kind of space, but also a functional irrigation need.
Right.
So it would fund that. It would also, in the stretch target, I mean, this is actually quite a necessary thing, but it would buy us a couple of containers in order to sort of store equipment. So yeah, it's a bit of a mixture of like a few kind of added kind of things to the environment to make it nicer, and then just adding a few more kind of functional kind of sides to it. Yeah.
Okay. And
Um,
in terms of your customers, tell us a little bit more about those and what is the scale of your customer base at the moment?
so one of the things that we did during lockdown was we were looking at a barn that's just right next to our site, and during lockdown I got together with the landowner and another business, and we set up a farmers market, which was, built off the need in COVID, and also provided, a safe place for people to interact at that time. And it's a bit of a unicorn kind of farmers market um, because it grew and built out of that time. I'm not sure you could start it now and it would have the same sort of success. But yeah, we have sort of 500, 700 people coming through on a Saturday. Um,
Mm.
and that's the bulk of our, I mean, that's like 1/3 of our business at the moment. So it's local people, not just tourists, although there are some tourists. They don't tend to buy veg. Um, but yeah, so it's the locals coming to the farmers market. Uh, um, that's probably, I would say, quite a wealthy dynamic of the community, which is good because it helps us fund our sliding scale veg box scheme. So the veg box is once a week. People have got total choice of what they put in the veg box, but they do have an option to come in on different tiers. So we've got 4 different tiers, low income through to an upper income, a highest income kind of bracket. So somebody on the highest income bracket would be basically paying double. So they'd be buying a box for themselves and a box for somebody else. Um, so so yeah, that means that people can um, buy their veg no matter what their means are. And then beyond that, if there's any surplus beyond that, some of that goes to the food bank. So yeah, there is a wealthy uh, customer base, which is really good. Like for any business, you need that customer base. Um, and Falmouth benefits from the universities and stuff like
Right.
that. But Cornwall has this real divide between social class, or social status, should I say, yeah, so we try and kind of meet those needs.
Mm. When you were setting that up, was it feedback from your customers that they would be prepared to pay different prices? I can imagine that it's quite a leap of faith to go ahead and do that, and for it to
Mm.
be successful.
Yeah, I mean, so it's all self-selecting. So we do guide people in that way. Um, and many people do it for a long time. We did test the waters a little bit with it, and it is voluntary, so um, uh, it wasn't like a sudden shock to kind of anybody. But yeah, we tested the waters and we realized that there were some people that wanted to do pay it forward. Um, so that gave us the confidence that we could roll this out like to everybody. And in
Mm.
actual fact, we'd love to roll it out to the market, to the farmers market as well. We would love a pay what you can afford. Um, system at the farmers market, but that's far more complex. And so yeah, we're working on how we would do that.
Yeah.
Um,
And then you also supply local restaurants as well,
yeah,
who are obviously looking for, great quality local food. How much of that is a, you know, growth sector for you?
that's the massive growth sector. That's we really like working with chefs and restaurants. We have a very good food scene down here for anybody that's visited, and yeah, it's a very it's a good market to be able to sort of sell volume, um, and for us, volume is kind of key in order to get these sort of economies of scale. So yeah, we work directly with chefs in the area, so we don't really work through wholesalers. So we build those relationships with the chef and have those weekly conversations, and they really love our produce, specifically our salad mix, which is incredibly fresh and smells great and is crunchy, and so they really buy into that. And that's not only do we want to sort of grow that area in terms of being able to supply what more widely around kind of Cornwall, um, but we're sort of building relationships. We would like to pull in a wholesale aspect to that as well. Um, so we're looking at working with a wholesaler called Organic North in order to, because we're rapidly increasing the amount of production, we need to be able to, obviously sell it.
Right, exactly. And in terms of the business model, you have got to a point where you're near break even.
Yeah.
So how does that pan out over the next few years with this investment?
Yeah. So the break even will fluctuating around break even will um, kind of continue and get better for the next couple of years. So we'll start to be applying investments even kind of now that will make small incremental gains to our break-even point. But mainly we'll be, servicing the cost of the interest and stuff that we're paying on the community shares. But it's the significant jump in our profitability comes when we install our new polytunnel, which is almost half of this raise is going towards this polytunnel, and that's the thing that really supercharges the business, being able to grow undercover all year round, being able to have more produce in the hungry gap, as well as producing more and more high value crops such as tomatoes during the summer. Yeah, that's the thing that really sees the business plan go from strength to strength.
Right, thank you. And then we've talked a little bit about the inequality that exists within the area. How are you working with the food banks and support groups in the local area to provide, good fresh food to all?
Yeah, so I mean, this is definitely an area that is really our core. We take the environmental side of things as a bit of a given. Like lots of people, that is their core. Um, and to no means diminish that, we do want to do that. But our the social mission is what our main proposition is. But we're always wanting to get it better. And build those kind of relationships with individuals and with organizations. So we're on a 3-year, or was it 4-year project with the food bank in Truro. And it's a twinning event. So we go to them and they come to us. We're really focusing in on the staff at the food bank to try and sort of educate them about what good food is. But for us to also understand what is appropriate food for people that are using food parcels. So there's this double learning kind of thing between
Right.
the staff members. because, for instance, somebody that is just placed in a hotel room is just cooking using a kettle, it's not appropriate to give them potatoes, for instance. So there's a learning curve for us about what we provide to the food bank, and then it's a learning curve for them to sort of understand what good fresh food is. And so yeah, that's a 3-year project that we're on at the moment. And yeah, we the more we produce, and the more we can build those relationships with other organizations as well. I think that's where we'd like to be in 2-3 years times, where we've got maybe that relationship with a number of different organizations. So it's not just Truro, we're also covering off Falmouth and Penryn, as well as different types of organizations. So there's obviously food parcels is one type, but then some people are also doing hot foods delivered to doors and stuff like that. So yeah, we'd like to get that balance right of the amount of those relationships that we're building.
Great. And I'm just going to ask you about what it means to be a member, because you have set up now as a community benefit society. So when people invest, they become a member of Soul Farm. And obviously, because of your sort of direct connection to your customers, how important is it for you to have that vibrant membership base? And, you know, what can people expect if they become a member of Soul Farm?
I think I get really excited thinking about this sort of wider membership and wider kind of co-ownership. And, you know, I'd really love, for instance, to not just to go beyond just the sort of AGM, and have very specific kind of events on the farm and dialogue with people. Anybody, we've started circulating a survey to some of the people that we have invested through, because we started the raise on crowdfunder, and trying to get to know people through kind of a Google survey, and really trying to put a face to a name. Like, we don't just want this as a list of people. And really, and I'd love to know how they, you know, why they invested, like who they are, would they like to come to the farm, and kind of really sort of build those relationships if possible. You know, the minimum thing is the AGM, I suppose. But then, you know, anybody that's sort of local, they've got the option to take their interest as in produce, as well as so there's that aspect to it as well from a local kind of veg box point of view. Obviously, for those people that are further away, it's that's not possible, and you know, you'd want to take your monetary interest. But you know, maybe you visit Cornwall, maybe you'd like to come and see us, have a cup of tea and a walk around the farm.
Yeah, I think having that direct connection to, you know, the positive impact that's being created is, you know, so important for a lot of our investors. And, you know, they can see what's happening on the ground, and, you know, they also get to hear and understand more about, you know, why this movement's so important at the moment. So,
yeah. I mean, I've just thought of this now, but you know, I've been so enthralled in like this raise that the next phase is definitely like, okay, right, how do we make this an experience for the investors? But you know, for sure, I think minimum we can look at like a regular newsletter, you know, photos from the farm and stuff like that.
Great.
But maybe once a quarter. I won't commit to anything at the moment because it's you know, such a frantic time as we move into like actually implementing this investment. But
yes, okay. So let's just get just to round out, let's just be really specific. So tell me about your timetable. What does it look like?
So fingers crossed, we can start the major project, which is the big polytunnel, high spec heated tunnel, We start that build in 2025 with a view of starting to grow in that in 2026. Before that, we'll start operating in the new growing space, the new field, and even from this winter, we'll start to put up some temporary polytunnels, which are they're called caterpillar tunnels without getting really specific. They're mobile polytunnels that we can put up and take down on a seasonal basis, and so that's really going to make a huge difference even to this winter, 2000 this coming winter coming up, not the one that we're coming out of now, and we'll be able to really start almost from the word go, like buying a few bits of operational equipment that is going to increase efficiency. Like, just to give you an example, we have an electric salad spinner, which is basically a tumble dryer that spins really fast and dries salad. And just by having two of them, I think it's going to like almost reduce the amount of time it takes to process salad by about a quarter. So those little things can happen now, and then we'll just gradually start working on the new space, sort of into next year.
Excellent. Okay, anything else that you wanted to mention, Laurence, before we close out?
No, not off the top of my head. I mean, one thing to say is that we've just put on our YouTube. We've just put out a little video, which we did a tour of 5 different farms around Cornwall, and it's a nice little video that really sort of shows what the movement is like. So if anybody fancies sort of seeing a little bit of like what the local food scene is like and what our place is in with the other organizations and partners, then that would be a nice little video to watch.
Yeah, we can send that through on the follow-up link so people can look. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It is excellent to hear more about Soul Farm and put a face to the name and hear more about your excellent plans for expansion. I'm really looking forward to seeing where things go for you over the next couple of years.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much for joining, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, Laurence.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.